Now I'm going to share with you a strategy that we use quite often with our students. Our students know that we frequently share ready-made strategies that they can use to work with. So now we're going to go over the MACD indicator, how to set it up and how to work with it. Let me say right away, if you practice and understand how it works, then with just this indicator you'll be able to close trades in profit more than 70% of the time. This isn't some kind of holy grail, it's not a money button, but you can do quite well in trading with it. Let's get started. Let's take a look at one of the examples to begin with. Here, for example, is a currency pair, British pound and Japanese yen, and here I'm opening a trade to go down. There are only 4 scenarios when we open trades. 2 are safe and 2 are relatively safe. At this point, you need to consider how much time you have and whether you're willing to take risks or not. Right now, for example, this is a fairly safe trade. Here we can see the intersection of 2 lines. They're not very clearly visible, but they are right here. So, right here, the red line crossed the green one, and accordingly, it is in the upper zone above this very histogram. Therefore, for me, this is an indicator that I can open a sell trade for 1 minute. And as you can see, I'm already taking a full 30 points. In this video, I'll share all the settings. All the entry points there are 4 of them in total. And as I mentioned, there are 2 safe ones and 2 that are relatively safe. From there you decide. But I think it's important to share all entry points so you know when to trade or skip. Or you can choose to take the risks yourself. As you can see, it's an excellent profit. And before we move on to the settings and the next entry points, I want to remind you that we have 11 managers. These 11 managers are always ready to help you and advise you on any issue. To get a personal consultation, you need to write the phrase "I want personal training" to our support account. What does personal mentorship give you? First, you can get any strategy you want for any market. And second, you can become one of our elite members. Here we provide signals every day. And as you can see, these are quite reliable signals that people earn from every day. Since our managers are professional traders, you can confidently work with them. In general, I leave the link to the support account in the description. Go ahead and ask any question you have. But now, let's move on to the strategy. Exactly the same example, once again a safe trade. And let's break down why it's considered safe. Once again we have a small crossover, the red line crosses the green one, and as a result the green line ends up below. This means that we need to open trades for a decrease. In other words, we only open trades for a decrease when the red line is above the green one. This is exactly the crossover moment. In order to open a buy trade, we need to use a different crossover, like here. That is, when we see that the green line is above at the moment of the crossover, it means that here we should open a buy trade, and this will be a fairly safe entry point. So there are only 2 entry points, but 4 scenarios. Just as I mentioned at the beginning. There is a safe one, and there is one that's not so safe. This trade closes in profit, and as you can see, 2 safe scenarios worked out in a row. Now let's talk about the unsafe entry points. After all, on the MACD we not only have 2 lines here, but also a histogram. And by the way, let's talk a bit about the settings. To add the MACD to the chart, you need to go to Indicators and select MACD here. This is quite a professional tool. Professional traders use it to make their analysis easier. Next, we click on this little pencil and you need to set the fast period to 15, the slow period to 30 and the signal period to 10. In the style settings, you need to change the MACD value to a line width of 2 points and set the signal line to 2 points as well. And accordingly, our indicator is now set up. If needed, pause the video and watch this part again. This will help you transfer these settings to your own chart. Our indicator is set up. Now, let's talk about entry points. We've established that we enter on the crossover, but there are 2 scenarios. We have an upper line where we can work, and we have a lower line. We base our actions on the histogram, that is, if the price, or more precisely, the MACD value is below the histogram, these are excellent entry points for buying. If the MACD line is above the histogram, these are excellent entry points for selling. And accordingly, there are cases when the price crosses over. For example, here we have a sell entry point, but it happens below the histogram. We can see that there was an impulse here, and in the moment we could have made a profit, but this is quite a risky entry point. That is, the crossover should occur above. The green line should go below the red one. Only then do we open a sell trade. If we look at the chart's history, here we had a crossover, this is a direct signal to sell, and here as well we had the sell signal, and as you can see, in just 1 minute we could have made an excellent profit. And yes, for everything to work like clockwork, we need to set 15-second Japanese candlesticks and a 1 minute trade duration. I hope you're not confused yet. Let's look at another practical example. Here, by the way, is an example of a rather risky trade. At this moment, we have a crossover and the green line crosses the red one. And accordingly, the green line is on top. This is a buy signal, but I see that since we are at the zero value, this is not a safe trade. And here it's up to you to decide whether to take the risk or skip this signal. The safest signals, as I mentioned, are either above the histogram or below the histogram. Anything that is in the middle, and when we have buy trades above the histogram or sell trades below the histogram, all of that is unsafe. We are taking a risk. How much risk to take is your choice. Skip trades or not. You can do extra analysis like support or resistance, and you understand that the price is about to bounce, and in principle you can earn safely. As you can see, I was lucky, but it was quite a risky trade, yet it still brought me profit. If I had entered 2 seconds later, I would end up with a loss. An example of an unsafe trade. Now let's look at an example of another safe trade. And yes, one more important point. If the MACD lines cross each other in this way, meaning they are just tangled together, then we should also skip that situation. Ideally, we want the crossover to look something like this. That is, the lines shouldn't be intertwined, just like here. This is a good example of a crossover. Everything that happened below is best avoided. Here is a fairly safe example. And by the way, this is on the OTC market. Yes, this strategy works not only on the regular financial market, but also on OTC. We can see that there was a crossover here, the red line was above the green line at that moment. And accordingly, this is a direct signal to sell. And that's exactly what I took advantage of. If we look at the charts, at the history, we can notice that indeed, here we had a buy signal and we could have successfully acted on it. Here we had a sell signal, that was also a decent move. Here, the buy signal was also at the bottom and we could have successfully entered the trade. Here, to be honest, I have my doubts because at first we had a buy signal, but as you can see, it turned out to be a false one. So in this case, we would have gotten lost as well. Here, there were 2 signals in a row. And here we put a big question mark specifically on this entry. And here we had another solid entry point for a sell. Well, actually not that solid, but we could have made a profit. So out of 5 entry points, we have 4 very good ones and only one that ended up in the red. By the way, while I was drawing, this trade closed in profit and brought me a decent gain. As you can see, this strategy really does work quite well. And most importantly, you need to practice it. Understand that trading is not exactly easy. You need practice here and you need knowledge. But the more you practice, the more questions you ask, the higher your chances are of achieving exactly this kind of track record. If you have questions, reach our managers. I'll leave the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to our Telegram channel for strategies and ready-made indicators. And also how to work with our trading bot. All the links are in the description. Be sure to subscribe, like and comment. See you soon!